Alright, I am back with a new Destiny 2 video based on what is the finale of episode Heresy, which I did not really see coming. A while back I talked about how I didn't realize that Act 3 was starting literally back to back with Act 2. There were 3 weeks of Act 2 content, and then now we have 2 weeks of Act 3 content. So they jammed, both those acts into just over a month here. I didn't think there was just going to be 2 weeks of story, which, as I was playing this final quest here, which, spoilers, this is the final quest, so if you haven't played yet, don't watch. There's a lot going on here, so you probably want to do it yourself. Yeah, as I was playing this, I was like, this has got to be the end of the episode, right? But, it's only week 2, so, what's going on? It is. I mean, it is the end of the episode. You complete it, and then you get a, notification about congratulations. It doesn't say that, but, you get the triumph for completing the whole act and stuff. Your quest goes away. There's no outstanding quests except collecting whatever fragments and, the minor quests that you may still have. And that's it. So what happened today is there was essentially like a pair of missions. I feel like maybe they combined 2 weeks into one because you don't usually get 2 separate story-ish missions. And then there was, some stuff in Savathun's Throne World. The main one was Sloane helping us forge the final pieces of Willbreaker in what I thought was a very, very funny sequence where she does like a Titan bubble, but it's like the tiniest Titan bubble ever, where she's just like hunched inside of it. That mission wasn't amazing. It was okay. There's some stuff with using Willbreaker to do things. I died holding Willbreaker a lot. That was dumb. But the final mission was actually very good. It takes place, over the course of the Dreadnought, so you're not really getting into, too many new areas or anything. But narratively, I thought it was pretty cool. You kill essentially everybody. You go through this and you're kind of chasing the knife of Oryx or whatever the Dread guy is who killed Eris and then didn't actually kill Eris. You end up fighting him a couple times. You kill the voice of Xivu Arath, that giant knight thing who at one point I thought was Xivu Arath, and then Xivu Arath does not look quite that scary. So you kill that thing. You kill a bunch of Savathun projections, and then you're constantly whacking Oryx's echo chamber with your Willbreaker, and then eventually you do kill the Dread knife guy. And so you kill at least representations of everybody. So as I'm playing this, I'm like, okay, this really seems like a finale here, and sure enough, it is. Narratively, I don't quite understand what happened with Xivu Arath, because we didn't kill Xivu Arath personally. We've never really seen her in person outside of cutscenes. We just get these voice of Xivu Arath things that we kill. Maybe there were some dialogue lines I missed because those are silent, and you can easily miss those in the heat of combat. Savathun is very pissed at us. She told us not to interfere in her family matters, and that is all we have been doing this season. In the end, you see that she is now a worm in Eris's apartment in a little terrarium. So, that's her now, I guess. Again, I'm so... this is, it's still processing, so there's a lot of... The hierarchy of the Hive Pantheon certainly has changed. Eris is still sort of in, ruling that area now, it seems, with her throne world. She didn't want to be a jailer, so we ended up just, killing the Echo of Navigation. Oryx kind of, talks wistfully about his impending demise, which is his impending demise again. And, it's interesting because, I thought this was a good quest in terms of its quest design, in terms of, the narrative of just going through and finally, murdering all these hive gods in terms of at least representation form, and, where they were all, sort of lined up to... I don't think these are ending the storylines. Maybe Oryx is, but I certainly think we'll see more of Xivu and Savathun in the future. But I think it was a good finale in that sense to what I think has been a very good episode. Certainly better than the last 2, I would say, both narratively and in terms of activities. I'm still just, I'm straight up playing Nether and Quarter Blades pretty much for fun. Like, I'm not hardcore trying to get anything. I'm, leveling the Battle Pass and getting a few more Adepts and whatever, but I really genuinely like those activities. What was a little confusing to me here is I thought at least when this episode ended, we would get some sort of kind of clear hints about where things were going from here with Frontiers. It seemed, even if it was a cliffhanger, which obviously it kind of would be a cliffhanger, I figured this would end up being like, well, we used the Echo of Navigation and plug it into the Dreadnought. We removed all the anchors, and now we're going to Fundament or Greece or whatever, somewhere else, because we know we're going to New Worlds and Frontiers. I still think we probably are taking the Dreadnought in our interstellar voyage here, but that was not set up here. That seems like something that would have to be set up, either as a prologue to Frontiers or something that's like the first part of Frontiers and, kicking us into gear for whatever comes next. I did sort of hope that this would end on a little bit of a hype note about what's to come instead of just sort of nothing. Whenever the act ends, it may do that, but that at the current point here, I think the best estimate for when Frontiers is coming is somewhere in mid-July. Even something from the Marathon ARG seemed to hint at that, weirdly enough. But if you look at like the Battle Pass countdown and stuff, right now at least it's supposed to be mid-July. As we know, Destiny expansions tend to get delayed, but this hasn't even been announced or previewed yet, so we don't really know. This coming weekend is a big Bungie Marathon reveal, an event, and not an open beta. I promise you that. But it's still going to be a lot of hype for Marathon, and there's been a lot of hype this past weekend. So the timing of this is a little weird because, maybe they wanted to end this week ahead of the big Marathon stuff instead of next Tuesday, which is like 48 hours, or 72 hours after this big Marathon stuff. I don't know. But, I wasn't disappointed with the mission and stuff. I was just hoping maybe that we would see a bit more of a tease toward what is about to, happen in Frontiers, although, using the word about loosely there, given that it's still, many months away. For those asking, no, Rite of the Nine is not next week. Rite of the Nine is essentially a month away. That it starts like May 6th or something, whatever that Tuesday is, and then it will run for however long it's supposed to run. So that is kind of our interim activity that's going to be bridging the gap between, the space between Act 3 ending here and then the launch of Frontiers. It's essentially the Into the Light 30th anniversary thing, albeit, it's based around dungeons that already exist, so it's sort of producing, less or no original activities as opposed to what those did. Of course, there are things to farm like new dungeon weapons, with different perks and adept versions and all that stuff. But so that is going to be the interim thing. I would not expect anything else except, again, maybe a prologue to Frontiers to set all this up. So we're sort of just waiting to see when Bungie wants to talk about Frontiers, but obviously that is not going to be aligned with all these Marathon announcements. So give that a couple weeks, maybe right before Rite of the Nine, maybe during Rite of the Nine. I'm not sure, but Destiny is not exactly going pedal to the metal every week all the time in the episode era. Like, you take 3 weeks off, 5 weeks off in between story beats. So that's the period we're heading into now. There's going to be trials, and is there another? No, we just finished Guardian Games, so there's no holiday coming, but. So yeah, so this is where it stops. It's a week earlier than I thought. Not really teasing Frontiers at all from what I can tell, unless, I don't know, maybe there's some hidden thing someone else is going to find today. But for now, it just seems, do play what you want to play, get your rolls, level up your battle pass, do whatever you feel like doing, and, or, play something else. What a wild concept. But I do think this has been a very good episode in a time where the episodes have been kind of a little awkward and did not work on some levels. I think the activities across a lot of the episodes were really good, but, motivation to play, story, I'll probably do a grand, overview of what I thought of all the episodes a different time. But, the episode model is done. No more episodes. No more seasons. We are getting 2 small expansions a year and then these quarterly updates that do not seem to be coming with any story events, but like new weapons and rotating new/old activities into the ritual playlists, and it certainly a lot different and, you know, a lot less than what we saw in Seasons. So that's a whole thing we got to figure out. But for now, that was episode of Heresy. You know, there's some lingering things, and, you know, we're going to do Rite of the Nine. That is coming up in a month here, but that's, you know, not really a part of the episode. It's its own thing. We will turn our focus mainly to Marathon over the course of the next week here. Maybe some more stuff will drop, you know, between now and then, between now and Saturday. I don't have any awareness of that, but yes, do not get your hopes up that you're going to be playing Marathon on Saturday after, you know, with a stealth drop. Signing up for an alpha, that is more likely, if not what's going to happen. So prepare for that part, and we will see if Marathon actually does make it out by the end of 2025 here, like it's supposed to. I very much have my doubts about that, but we'll see what happens here. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.